Hey everybody! Thanks for coming to the episode 5 of Wrong End of the Snake with Mike Shinoda. We hope that you guys enjoyed it. We sure did. While we were having that conversation, we were sent a bunch of questions, and we're going to try to get to some of them. So here's our question and answer period. Unfortunately, Mike couldn't join us, but Tater and I can try to answer as many as we can. Tater, a guy named Jordan Ferrari, I think that's how you pronounce his name, asking on behalf of LP Live. He says, who in the band came up with the V stage live for A Thousand Suns, and what technological challenges did that present for the crew?
Good question. Thousand Suns, that was a few years back. Let me try to recall. The V stage design. I can't be 100% positive. I want to think maybe it was AJ Penn, the lighting designer, along with Jim, and I'm sure it was approved by the band, or they gave him a few concepts and they picked that one. It was different. What technological changes did it present for the crew? Well, there was no real downstage edge. It was kind of side stage edges. So we positioned monitors under the grating a little different, had to figure out the right sweet spot positions. Pooch might be able to answer, where do we hang the PA differently? We may have been able to set it back some more, further upstage than normal, I would guess. And the lighting design was plotted around that stage, so I don't think there was any. They had to go through much changes or anything to make that happen. But even once the diamond stage left, we sticked with the diamond risers for a while. We kept them in the diamond position for a while on stage, even after the main stage went down. So somebody must have liked that idea. They kept it for a while, and you lose area when it's on the diamond. So like if it's a drum riser and stuff, so you just got to position stuff a little different and figure a way to work around it. But those, when you're doing stuff like we were doing back then, those were little challenges compared to other stuff I'm sure we were dealing with at the time. Good question, though.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of difference in where we hung the PA. I think basically if you didn't see that show, it was a triangle stage, so the front of the stage had like a point to it rather than a flat part, and so the very edge of the point would have put a band member more in front of the PA had we not moved the PA a little bit. I think we kind of treated the point of the triangle as the actual downstage edge, so we moved forward the speakers just a little. Did that change side fill wise for you? Do you remember?
It must have. I think it did. I remember, I think on that tour, I was mixing underneath the stage, and I had cameras anyway.
Yep.
I think it did. I think my side fills were pointed more, and they were further upstage, but pointing way further downstage, if I recall right.
Right. And that was a challenge, though, for you more than other tours, right? You were buried underneath the stage there. You were mixing with TVs in front of you, right?
Yeah, I was mixing off of video screens, and there was little spy cams all over the place. And the biggest challenge was, I think there was a set piece on that one that vibrated a lot, and I had to get used to that vibration noise that was going on. And I think once I wrapped my head around that to get it out of my head, I think everything was fine.
I think you were in the back there where Rob's kit came up and down in some sort of automation feature. Yeah, I mean, there was a bunch of challenges in that. That are not normal situations when when the stage is your standard rectangle. So yeah, I mean, there were some challenges that happened there, but for the most part, for us, it wasn't all that much different.
Yeah.
Let's see. Next question.
Mike wrote, how long did it take to finish mastering of the live show for the download, Pooch? The so-called digital souvenir package, which I think we refer to as DSP.
Yes,
correct?
The DSP, digital souvenir package. We did that for approximately 2 years. in the beginning, I think that we were not delivering, I think it took us like several weeks to deliver. I can't remember the exact timings, but later on, as we got good at it, we were starting to deliver like every 4 days after the show, I think is when we were posting stuff. And the method that happened is after a show gets recorded, I would record the show at front of house, and then it would go to Dylan Eli, was the editor and the kind of the mastering guy in that process. So the show would go to him first. He would do any sort of editing that needs to happen, chop up, stuff, and the front part that was walk-in music, and the last part that was recorded of audience walking out of the building. He would chop all that up and then get that ready for me. And then I would spend probably 2 full days, 8 to 10 hours. So probably 20 total hours. And then that would be a kind of a finished product that would then go to Dylan, who would act as a mastering engineer, and he would kind of do a final mastering. It was a way for a second pair of ears to hear it, and check my work, before it got uploaded. And then he was the guy that uploaded it to the service that all you guys downloaded from. So I think all of that process, generally, we would deliver shows in about 4 days.
He kind of had a follow-up here. During the mastering process of the show, were there any parts that you had to like cut, copy, and paste from a different piece so the edited part sounded right?
We would not replace anything in a show unless it was something that was so horrendous. Like, for instance, if a piece of gear totally broke, and was making the keyboards play a half step higher, which is actually what happened in one place, then we would actually replace that piece. And the reason that we thought about this a lot. We were like, we want this to be the show. We don't want to change anything from it. But we also thought that this is it's a recording that's going to live on forever. Would you want to hear the keyboard a half step up and basically just a train wreck? Or would you like it to be fixed and be fine? So we would basically not touch anything unless it was something absolutely horrendous. And I can only think of maybe 2 instances where we did that. One was a keyboard and one was a guitar that totally went out of tune. And in both cases, we fixed those. But it's not something that we did on a regular basis. I don't think we replaced any vocals anywhere. I don't think. Also, Mike asks, what is the problem-solving process when a gear issue occurs? Like Mike's keyboard breaks mid-show. What do you guys do?
We panic.
No, I think we have backups for everything, right?
Backups for everything, and I think you're there. It's hard to answer for what those guys do, but I think they, depending how it goes down, they go up there and have a look, diagnose the issue, and see what's wrong. And if I think it's going to take too long or something, they'll just swap the whole piece out. We have A and B everything, and backups running and all that stuff. So it's usually just a quick hardware swap or a reboot or something. And that's usually how it's done. There's spares for everything. And that's mainly what happened. Those guys are ready with backups. They're not locked away. They're right out, ready to go. So they would just swap. And that's true with just about any piece of gear. We just swap it out and be done with it, and then have a look at it usually the next day and try to analyze what happened and fix it, or that becomes the spare or gets sent back to get fixed or something like that. But we have some things we have more than one spare, multiple spares with us. So,
but I think overall it's redundancy, right? We have redundancy in every piece. So we have, backups to the keyboards. We have backups to the lines that go to the keyboards. We have backups to, there's very few things in our chain where we don't have a backup to fix.
Very few.
We're pretty much prepared for any sort of catastrophic event.
Mike, and is this Mike Shinoda asking us these questions?
I don't
maybe he
know.
wanted to know the answers to these. Maybe he wanted to know the answers to these all these years, and he never asked, and now he felt he had time to ask.
It just says Mike, so it could be him.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So, also, the most interesting question we all would like to get an answer: why the DSP project ended. Like we'd like to get the closing on the case because there's some speculation going on for years. So there's a lot of people want to know the answer to why this ended, and I don't know why it ended, but I just have a feeling the answer is not going to be something they're expecting. Like, it's not going to be some grandiose reason. It's just going to be it ended.
I think, I mean, I don't honestly know the reason why they decided, but I will tell you that we had towards the end, there was a lot of conversations about how it was burning me out. They were getting diminishing returns on both ends of me mixing the live stuff and mixing the DSP. I didn't have enough time in my day to focus on both. And so I know that there was that discussion. So that may have played a part in it. But I ultimately don't know what the answer is. I don't think it's, some grandiose thing, like you say. I don't think it was like, their record company saying that they had to stop doing it, or, I don't think it's any of that. And so, but honestly, I don't know what the answer is. It's something that maybe we should have asked Mike. Maybe he doesn't know. I don't know.
Right, maybe he might not. That's what I'm saying. Everybody thinks that everybody knows these answers, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's not that crystal clear. I mean, even Stoner Man got a paper cut stuff in those CDs, and it got infected and slowed the process down. I don't know.
It's all Stoner's fault. It's
all
fault.
Stoner's fault. But
Brad Stoner, it's your fault.
I think people read a lot into some stuff like that, and there's probably really not that much to it, I would think.
No. Anandev Banerjee, I hope I said that right, asks, when Pooch and Tater started working with LP, what were the size of the shows? And as they got bigger and bigger, how did the workflow change? Tech rehearsals, more equipment, longer tours or not? I don't remember if they ever did any supporting shows with other bands to reaching headlining. I think when we showed up, their first two records were out and they were a huge band. So
they were solid arena rock act.
They were a solid arena rock act. Now, when we first showed up, we also did, though, a bunch of promo that was really small. Like, I mean, we even did like some clubs, that were, 500 people or whatever. We've played the Roxy with them. What I mean? We've done tiny places with them, but it's not because not because that they had to. It's because that they were doing a really intimate event. So we've played some smaller places like that. But in regards to what technology has changed, when Tater and I started, we had different consoles, and we had a limitation of only 96 inputs. And when we got to a Project Revolution that
Street Drum Corps year.
Yep, Street Drum Corps added so many inputs that there was no way that we could do that show with only 96 inputs. We upgraded all of our stuff to Digico, which is what we currently still use with different bands. So
we expanded the playback out after a while because the songs were getting more advanced and stuff they wanted to hear was changing. And and then remember they did that when They Come For Me song, and it required all those extra drum inputs, and so they were experimenting with their sound, and to getting those sounds, it was requiring more instruments, which was requiring us to have more microphones and direct boxes and stuff, so increasing our inputs. As their music evolved, we had to evolve with it for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And that meant, like we talked about in the show, Mike especially, but the band in general drove us to be on the cusp of technology. And so we would upgrade in order to do that. And whatever was the latest, greatest stuff, we would try to adopt it. And so I think that's what made LP so much fun, is that we were like, whatever was the latest thing, we were in it.
Yeah, we had to stay on top of. We had to be ready for whatever they asked for, and we definitely had to. We couldn't say we can't do that. We had to be ready for anything.
No, we never said we can't do that.
Yeah.
We always said, sure, let's look into a way to do it, and then we did. So the last question here is to you specifically, Tater. Any issues you ever had with IEMs mid-show, like the feed disappeared suddenly and you had no idea what's going on? Did you have any problems like
I've
that?
never had an issue, so that's
You've never had an issue.
Well, with any piece of gear, you always have issues, and you try to minimize them, and you take precautions so stuff doesn't happen. Now, IEMs, it's a piece of plastic in your ear with drivers, and it's connected to a cable. The cable can break, the ears get water in them. Yeah, you got to swap them out. You always have spare sets ready. I mean, God, each of the guys probably had, on the road with us, we probably had 5 sets each. We have special dryers and stuff for that, but the feed disappearing, the only way the feed disappearing really is if my console goes down. Has my console gone down during the show? Yes, it has, because I think in China, when we were doing that big stadium tour in China, we were having heat issues.
Yep.
And we lost some UPSs or something, right?
Yep.
And my console went down, and of course, when your console goes down, you lose the feed. So, stuff does happen, but you got to stay calm back there, and everything's going to be okay. Just sometimes you need a second, and you regroup, and we did that. But that's you have spare everything for them. If the IEM receiver goes down, you're going to change it out. If the ears go down, and usually we don't leave anything to chance. If somebody's having problems with their ears, we swap out the pack and the ears. So whatever it was is fixed. Yep. And then we'll reanalyze it the next day and figure out what's wrong, and then really fix it then. But we usually change out the whole chain, and that way the problem should 99% of the time be gone.
Cool. All right, guys, thanks for throwing all those questions at us. We sure do appreciate it, and tune in next week to our next episode.